What if one day, without warning, everything you loved was taken from you? Your children gone, your home destroyed, your wealth stolen or burned to ashes, your health shattered. What if the very people who were meant to comfort you told you it was your fault? And what if God himself was silent? Would you still trust God? There once lived a man named Job in the land of Uz. He was blameless and upright, a man who feared God and stayed away from evil. Job was wealthy and respected, with 7 sons, 3 daughters, and many servants. He owned thousands of animals, 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 oxen, and 500 donkeys. He was considered the greatest man among all the people of the East. One day, the angels came to present themselves before God, and Satan also came with them. "Where have you come from?" asked the Lord. Satan answered,
"From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it."
God continued, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one like him, blameless and upright, fearing God and shunning evil." Satan replied,
"Does Job fear God for nothing? You've put a hedge around him and blessed him. But stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face."
God said, "Very well, everything he has is in your power, but do not lay a finger on the man himself." One ordinary day, Job was at home when messengers began to arrive, one after another, each bearing more horrifying news than the last. The first messenger came running, breathless and terrified. He said,
"The oxen were plowing and the donkeys were grazing nearby when Sabeans attacked and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you."
Before the first servant even finished speaking, a second burst through the door with even more shocking news.
"The fire of God fell from the heavens and burned up the sheep and the servants, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you."
Again, as the second messenger finished, a third ran in with more grim news.
"The Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties, swept down on your camels, and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you."
While the third messenger was still speaking, a fourth rushed in with grief and horror. He said,
"Your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the home of their oldest brother, when suddenly a mighty wind came from across the desert. It struck the 4 corners of the house, and it collapsed on them, and they are dead. I am the only one who has escaped to tell you."
In a matter of moments, Job's world was stripped bare, his wealth destroyed, his household shattered, and his beloved children lost. Job stood up, tore his robe in mourning, and shaved his head as a sign of grief. But instead of cursing God, he fell to the ground in worship, saying, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." In all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. Sometime after, again, Satan appeared before God. Just as before, God initiated the conversation with Satan. "Where have you come from?" And Satan answered in the same way.
"From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it."
Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him, blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil, and he still maintains his integrity, though you incited me against him to ruin him without any reason." But Satan was not done. He responded with a cold and cynical challenge.
"Skin for skin. A man will give all he has for his own life. But now stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face."
God said, "Very well. He is in your hands, but spare his life." And so Satan went out from the presence of the Lord.
By the way, if you find any of these videos interesting or enjoyable, please consider subscribing. These take a long time to make, and it really helps out.
Satan struck Job with a torment unlike any he had ever known. Painful boils, inflamed sores that broke out across his entire body, from the top of his head to the soles of his feet. Every inch of Job's flesh screamed in agony. His skin blistered and cracked. Pus oozed from open wounds. He could hardly move without pain. Stripped of his children, his wealth, and now his health, Job was unrecognizable. He wandered to the edge of the city, to the place where ashes were dumped. There he sat, alone and humiliated. He took a broken piece of pottery and with trembling hands scraped at his sores, trying to find some relief. His wife, the only one left, looked at him with eyes hollowed by grief and said,
"Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die!"
But Job turned to her, not in anger, but with sorrow and steady faith. "You speak as one of the foolish women speaks," he said. "Shall we accept good from God and not also accept trouble?" And in all this, Job did not sin with his lips. When his 3 friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, heard of the great calamity that had befallen him, they left their homes and came with a single purpose, to mourn with him and to comfort him. They had known Job as a man of strength and wisdom, respected, blessed, and noble. But when they approached and saw him from a distance, they were shaken. They did not recognize the man sitting in ashes, covered in sores, scraping himself with pottery. They raised their voices and wept aloud. Each tore his robe and sprinkled dust on his head toward heaven. It was a gesture of deep sorrow and mourning, a sign that they entered into Job's grief. And then they did something remarkable. They sat with him on the ground for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him, just silent, for they saw that his grief was very great. Then Job opened his mouth, and he cursed the day of his birth. "Let the day perish on which I was born, and the night that said, 'A man is conceived.'" To Job, even the moment he came into existence felt like a mistake, a door that should never have opened. He imagined a world where he was never born, where sorrow never had the chance to find him. Why did I not perish at birth or die as I came from the womb? If only, he said, he had died at birth, then he would be at peace. He just wanted it all to stop. Job's friends had heard enough. Now, seeing Job's despair, they could no longer stay quiet. Surely, they thought, such suffering could only mean one thing. Eliphaz started.
"Job, will you be angry if I speak the truth? No innocent man ever suffered like this. God punishes the wicked. Maybe you did something wrong."
Job, defiant, said, "What truth? You twist my pain into proof. I know my heart. God knows it too, even if he crushes me for no reason." Bildad spoke.
"How long will you say such things? Your children, maybe they sinned. God is fair. If you were truly good, he would help you."
Job shouting, "You blame the dead? You mock me! If God would answer, I'd plead my case, but he hides while I rot." Zophar continued.
"Stop lying to yourself. Such pride! God sees your wickedness. Beg for mercy before it's too late."
And so the debate began. Job clinging to his innocence and accusing God of being unfair. His friends certain of his sin. Now they acted like judges. But somewhere beyond the storm clouds, God was listening. Then, after all the silence, after Job's cries, after the long speeches from his friends, the Almighty himself spoke, and from the storm the Lord answered Job. "Who is this that speaks without knowledge? Get ready like a man. I will ask you questions and you will answer me. God's voice thundered with strength, but every word was filled with purpose. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you know. Who marked off its size? Who stretched the measuring line across it? Have you ever commanded the morning to appear? Can you guide the stars in their path across the sky? Do you send the lightning? Do you give the horse its strength? Can you hunt the prey for the lion, or provide food for the ravens? God painted a picture of His power over the heavens, the seas, the storms, and every living creature. From the wild ox to the eagle, from the mountains to the deep oceans, from the untamed behemoth to the terrifying leviathan. Creatures no man could master. God continued, "Can you pull in Leviathan with a hook? Can you put a rope through his nose? Who then is able to stand against me?" After God finished speaking, Job was quiet. He felt very small and humbled. Then he said, "I am nothing. What can I say to you? I put my hand over my mouth. I spoke once, but I said no more." Job realized that he had tried to understand God's plan, but God's wisdom is far greater than his own. Then Job spoke again, with new respect and trust. "I know that you can do all things. No plan of yours can be stopped." You asked, "Who is this that hides knowledge without understanding?" I say, I am that person. I had heard about you before, but now I have seen you with my own eyes. I take back what I said, and I am sorry for what I said in my pain. Job humbled himself before God. He trusted God's power and wisdom even when he didn't understand his suffering. The Lord told Eliphaz, one of Job's friends, "You and your 2 friends have not spoken the truth about me like my servant Job has. Offer a burnt offering for yourselves, and my servant Job will pray for you." They did as the Lord commanded, and when Job prayed for his friends, God was pleased. God restored Job's fortunes, giving him twice as much as before: 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 oxen, 1,000 donkeys, and again 7 sons and 3 daughters. Job lived another 140 years, seeing his children and grandchildren to the 4th generation. At the end, Job died an old man, full of years. Job's story reminds us of something very important. Just as Satan accused Job before God, he still accuses us today. He said, "Job only worships you because you bless him." He twisted Job's faith into a transaction, claiming that God's goodness was just a bribe. That's what the accuser does. He distorts truth. He plants doubt. He whispers, "You don't deserve God. You've already sinned. Might as well keep going." Or he whispers, "You must have done something wrong." But Jesus came as the opposite. He doesn't accuse, he defends. The Bible says, "If anyone sins, we have an advocate before the Father, Jesus Christ, the righteous one." Through Jesus, we have a Savior, not an accuser. On the cross, Jesus silenced every lie. When Satan points to your pain and says, "God has abandoned you," Jesus points to his scars and says, "You are forgiven. You are mine." Being faithful to God doesn't mean life will always be easy. We will face pain, troubles, and moments we don't understand. God's ways are higher than ours. His wisdom is deeper than we can see. And sometimes we won't know why things happen the way they do. And that's okay. When we hurt, it's okay to cry, to ask questions, to feel confused, even angry. But even in those moments, we are called to trust, to believe that God is good, even when life feels unfair. God will sometimes allow suffering to shape us, to strengthen us, to grow our faith in ways we never imagined. And in His perfect time, God restores. He brings new hope, new joy, and new life. May Job's journey remind you, you are never alone. And God's love is greater than any storm you face.
If you haven't subscribed yet, please don't forget to do so. It really helps us continue providing you with amazing videos like this.